Welcome to Eye on Horror, the official podcast of iHorror.com. This is episode 78, otherwise known as season 4, episode 21, otherwise known as our season 4 season finale, which means you're not going to hear from us for a few weeks. I am your host, James J. Edwards, and with me, as always, is your other host, Jacob Davison. How you doing, Jacob?
Doing well. I'm back from the East Coast and happy to be back on the West Coast.
Just in time for all the rain.
Yeah, I can't escape it. It snowed and rained while I was on the East Coast, and we miraculously got some rain here.
You brought it with you.
Yeah, I brought some of those, seasonal New England spirits or whatever.
And the entire state thanks you because we need it. Also with me yet again, and as always, is your other host, John Correa. How you doing, Correa?
Oh, doing fantastic. I got my first professionally done tattoo this week. My partner Lindsay and I both got matching Scooby Doo project tattoos.
Yes,
look like the Blair Witch figures, but like a dog. You guys remember Scooby Doo project, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that thing scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. Because the thing of it was brilliant because, at the time, Blair Witch fever was at an all-time high. Yeah. And, kids like myself, heard about it. And, of course, back then there was a lot of discrepancy on whether it was real or not. So, kind of bridged the gap because it was like, the Blair Witch Project for kids, but with the Scooby-Doo gang.
But we ended up, of course, because we got tattoos for it, we ended up watching it again. It's on YouTube. It's like 20 minutes long. Worth it. Please seek it out, everybody. And it's very funny in the beginning, very silly. And then it gets really creepy later on. And you have to remember those were little segments for a Scooby Doo marathon. So if you could imagine just being a kid, just hopping into the middle of a Scooby Doo marathon, and all of a sudden they're doing a lot of creepy shaky cam stuff. And all of a sudden Shaggy's in the corner and they're like, Shaggy, what are you doing in the corner? He's like, I'm really scared, man. And it's like, whoa, this is genuinely creepy as fuck. No wonder why they only aired it once.
Yeah, no, that was a good one.
And now it's immortalized on my wrist.
What we're going to do, because it's our season finale, is we're going to go over our top 10s of the year, which is what we do every year. This year, as well as last year, we have to have a few caveats here because release schedules, because of COVID, have been really fucked up.
Yeah.
And there's stuff that is, I actually just reminded Jacob of something that came out this year that made his list last year. And you'll see the theme across our lists. There will be stuff like, oh, wasn't that last year? In some cases, it may have been, but it was wide release this year. I don't know. Yeah. I'm making excuses. But anyway, if you see, there seems to be a window this year instead of that is more than just the year of 2021.
It's weird because last year I was able to watch so many 2020 movies, and then I don't know if it's because I was working a lot last year too. It was only a couple months I was out of work, and then this year just I barely made one page out of 2020 movies that were listed as 2021. Because again, there's movies that are say they're 2020 but didn't get released till this year. It's all fucked. So what we're trying to say is these are our top 10 of movies that pretty much came out this year, that we saw this year. And it's not every movie. We didn't have time to see every movie. We have jobs. And we have varying opinions. And, these are just movies that we enjoyed.
All of mine wide released this year. There will be some controversy, though. I'm telling you right now on release dates. How do we want to go through this? Let's say
Let's start with J and then go to the next J and then go to the next J.
I'm saying I'm going to put them, and this is for ease of editing. Let's go in the order that I put our tracks as I edit. So that means me, Jacob, then Korea. That work for you guys?
I'm down. Yeah.
And It's alphabetical order too.
Is it alphabetical? Hey, no, it isn't.
Or no, wait, you're right.
What? In what way?
It's reverse alphabetical by last name. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, let's go. I'm going to go first. My number 10 is Malignant.
Nice.
All right.
Which is basically James Wan's love letter to everything that the movies I think that he loves. It's a little giallo, it's a little body horror, it's a little supernatural terror, it's a little police procedural, and it is a whole lot of what the fuck.
And decent police procedural, because rewatching all the Saw movies recently, there was some really bad police, even though that's most of the movies.
Yeah, no, that one was just a blast to see in theaters because they're just isn't a lot of big budget studio horror like this anymore. Like a lot of people were saying, it was more evocative of, like the 90s and 2000s, big budget Dark Castle production movies like House on Haunted Hill or 13 Ghosts. And I do appreciate that, just that James Wan made bank on Aquaman, and Warner Bros. Like, hey, you can make whatever you want. It's like, okay. And he made Malignant.
You can definitely tell that they're like, it's like that Anakin Padme thing. It's like, you're going to make like another Conjuring movie, right? Yeah, I'm going to make a horror movie. It's going to be like The Conjuring, right? Right?
Yep. So, Jacob, what's your number 10?
All right. Well, my number 10 is Halloween Kills.
All right. I was wondering if someone was going to put it in their top 10.
I mean, I kind of had to.
I thought it was going to be me. I was heavily debating that. So I'm happy someone included it in their top 10. So that's a bit of spoiler for my list. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I couldn't resist, just because, I mean, I know it was kind of controversial, mostly in like a content sense, but I really had a lot of fun with it. It's Michael Myers just living up to the title and killing a fuck ton of people.
Yeah, for a movie that did so much different than previous ones in its focus and themes and whatnot, they like delivered on the most basic promise of a slasher film, and that's a high body count, with the highest fucking body count.
Oh yeah, no, and it just had some amazing kills. I mean, Jesus Christ, that fireman sequence, that was pretty amazing.
That was great.
And also, I got to give credit to Halloween Kills because it's the thing that finally got me into the band Ghost. I love Ghost now because of Halloween Kills.
Really?
Yeah.
They performed an acoustic set at Amoeba one time, which was weird.
I mean, I would have liked to see that.
Were they dressed up?
Yeah, they were fully dressed up. I was just registered, ringing up people, and I didn't know Ghost really at that time. And I was just like, this does not seem like the kind of music that you normally do acoustically, but it's chill. That's cool.
Korea.
Yeah.
Your number 10.
My number 10 goes to Werewolves Within.
Nice. That's my number 8.
Oh, spoilers.
Spoilers.
It's my number 8 too.
Spoilers, guys.
It's no secret that we all loved it, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, it's just such a charming movie. It works really well as a whodunit. It's kind of the movie that I was expecting Wolf of Snow Hollow to be last year. And I just didn't vibe with that one, but Werewolves Within was definitely on my vibe level. It was a lot of fun. There was some genuinely creepy moments, and it's always just seeing places, little scene places like a small town in Vermont be personified in film so accurately. So that one holds a special place in my heart.
Yeah, no, I'm always a sucker for New England horror, and it also really captured the right balance of horror and comedy. And it was also funny because I didn't expect it to be so evocative of The Thing, because it's really a paranoia movie.
I was thinking it was kind of like Clue, but with a werewolf. But the thing is about it kind of turns into a completely different movie as soon as you realize who the werewolf is and they're dealing with it, because then it turns into like this action, American Werewolf in London kind of a thing. It turns a corner. But yeah, it's just, I can't think of a movie that is as much fun as Werewolves Within from this year.
Also, it was the first Beyond Fest screening we did once theaters reopened. So actually we got to see it play theatrically at the Arrow with Josh Rubin, the director. So, when cinemas came back, that was a pretty fond memory for me.
Awesome.
My number 9, moving on to number 9. My number 9 is one that I waited for. This is the whole reason I got vaccinated. I waited like a year for it. A Quiet Place Part 2.
Ooh.
It's a completely different movie than A Quiet Place. I mean, it's, for lack of a better term, it's a noisier movie. There's much more music and much more sound in it, but it is, I feel like they opened the world up, and that was what it needed. You couldn't just have A Quiet Place Part 2 with 5 people on a farm.
Yeah.
You had to get them out into the world, and they did. And I loved it.
And they did a really, really great job of working on the relationship between the daughter and the father. I thought that was very well done. The main reason why it's not in my top 10 is because that was the only of the family. That was the only relationship that or characters that were, they really kind of let Emily Blunt's character and the son kind of fall to the side a bit too much. So I would have liked to have seen more done with their characters, or have seen less of them in the movie, if that makes sense.
I did like the addition of Cillian Murphy, and I also like that kind of actiony intro about kind of how it all started. But yeah, didn't make my top 10. Just didn't quite resonate with me as much. But
still a lot of fun.
Yeah, I liked it.
That whole island sequence was fucking heart racing.
Cool. Jacob, what's your number 9?
Coming in at number 9 is Seance by Simon Barrett.
Probably my favorite poster of the year.
Yeah, no, it's a badass poster. And this is Simon Barrett's directorial debut. You know, he was the writer with Adam Wingard for a bunch of his movies like You're Next and The Guest. And I just thought it was a really fun and thrilling kind of supernatural murder mystery horror with a lot of giallo elements to it, because it's like this girl transfers to this girls' school after there's been a death that could have been a murder, and also they think the dormitories are haunted, and then these girls start getting picked off one by one. So I do like these kinds of stories where there's this sort of ambiguity, or it's like what's more scary, like the supernatural elements or what's the truth. And I actually got to see that again, with the director Simon Barrett and some of the cast doing Q&A. So this was toward the beginning of vaccinations, so it was just one of those movies where I finally got to go back to the theaters and kind of relive the experience. So again, holds a special place for me. But yeah, no, I think it's just a very solid horror movie in its own right, and I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
Korea, you're 9.
Coming in at number 9, I am going to cheat a little bit and did what the Academy Awards, the Academy did to Lord of the Rings, and classify all 3 as one. The Fear Street movies.
Oh,
nice.
I couldn't pick which one, if I wanted to include more than one. So ultimately, I just wanted them all to have a spot, because that was such a fun thing. Just the fact that they were released one week after another. So it was an event thing. And then I thought the stories flowed really well. It was just a lot of fun. It felt like watching a Goosebumps-esque story, but like with adult content, which made it feel a little forbidden, and just tonally, and like everything about it was just like a lot of fun. And then of course, but for my official, it's all going under 1666, kind of like what they did with Return of the King. But that was also my favorite one. Really loved what they did with having previous actors come back and play different characters in the past, and then they switched focus and turned it into 94 Part 2. It was just a lot of fun. So yeah, God, I wish Netflix would put these movies out on disc, because that would be a fun box set to have.
Oh man, I dream of the day. And honestly, I wish I had thought of that, because it's like I can't choose which one. I don't know like what to do, but I mean, I really love them all, and yeah, I can definitely see why you did that.
It's a little cheating, but
yeah, I'll allow it.
It's my fucking podcast, so come fight me.
We'll allow it, because that also frees up 2 more spots on your list.
Exactly. Yeah.
Going on to number 8, and I already spoiled this, and I think Jacob did too. Yeah. My number 8 is Werewolves Within, which we've talked about.
Same.
So let's skip right to Korea's number 8.
We're back to me again. Yes. My number 8 was a late entry for me. I just watched this about a week or so ago. The Night House with Rebecca Hall.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That film, I think I watched the trailer once, and it was a long ass time ago. So I went in not knowing anything other than it's Rebecca Hall and there's like 2 houses. I don't know. And I was treated to a really solid thriller. It reminded me a lot of What Lies Beneath, another one that I've watched first time this year, but it reminded me a lot of that, with like a really good ghost story in there. But the shining piece of this movie is Rebecca Hall. She was absolutely phenomenal in that movie. It's really sad that I don't think because the Academy and everybody kind of overlooks horror and things of that nature. So I don't know if she'll be nominated, but I think she should get something, because that looked like a very draining performance she did throughout the entire movie, and she was phenomenal.
She won't be nominated for The Night House, but she has a movie, and it's not horror at all, on Netflix right now. She wrote and directed, called Passing.
Yeah.
Which is getting some buzz. Yeah. So she may get mentioned at the Oscars, but it won't be for The Night House, unfortunately. because between The Night House, Godzilla versus Kong, and Passing, she's had
having
one
a
hell of a year.
Yeah. Oh, she's doing well.
Yeah.
This is the year of Rebecca Hall. Pay
Go girl.
respect.
And speaking of Go Girl, my number 7 is Titane.
Only 7?
Wait until you see 1 through 6. There's some good shit on my list. My list, pound for pound, is my favorite list. Wait a minute. Yeah. Anyway, Titane. We talked about it last time, so we don't need to go into too much depth into it. But yeah, Julia Ducournau's Titane, just one of those movies that you can't believe it as you're watching it, and as it goes on, you can't believe it even more. Just a crazy ass movie.
It is the definition of an experience, that film, just through and through. The uncomfortableness, the beauty of the cinematography, and how it's put together. The acting is phenomenal, just all around. It's a very unsettling at times film, but a lot of the time it's very beautiful. So it's one that definitely needs to be seen, and it's weird as fuck, but it knows it and it doesn't care. And I love that it's got a very punk rock attitude that I love.
It tries to be weird, but it doesn't try too hard to be weird.
It just is.
If that makes any sense. Yeah, it pulls it off.
Yeah, it did amaze me because, I kind of thought what I expected to see going in, but I did not expect what I saw. And, it's, how do I put this? It's a very fluid type of movie. It's not just one thing. It's like many different things.
Especially with its themes of gender.
Oh, yes.
Very fluid.
Especially with gender.
And some of those scenes have a lot of fluid going on.
Oh, yeah.
Fluid is definitely a word that could be used with this movie.
In many ways.
Fluid.
It works on so many levels.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to describe Titane, fluid. Jacob, what's your number 7?
Right, and coming in at number 7, Nia DaCosta's Candyman.
Nice.
Yeah, no, of course, there was a lot of controversy around the movie because, when you do a sequel to a particularly beloved horror franchise, there's going to be a lot of buzz about it. And I was pretty excited about it. And also, it was one of those movies that got delayed by like a year. So, just the hype just grew and grew. And I was very happy with the end result. I just thought that it was a very interesting continuation of the mythology that also expanded upon it and had some amazing and surrealish nightmare cinematography. And yeah, I thought DaCosta did a great job in kind of updating the story, particularly for the last couple of years, and its themes of, like white supremacy and police brutality and race in America and gentrification and the arts. And yeah, I thought it was an excellent sequel.
It just pisses me off that they made Candyman woke.
How can they do that?
That was sarcasm for those of you who haven't listened to the last 4 episodes.
That fucking thing. Jesus.
All right. What's your number 7, Korea?
Going in for number 7 for John Korea is Ben Wheatley's In the Earth.
Ooh, nice.
Ben Wheatley is definitely one of those filmmakers that never makes the same thing twice, which is I absolutely love. Even if I don't like one of his movies, which is I can't think of off the top of my head, if there's one that I don't quite vibe with, I'm unaffected because I know the next one's going to be probably a complete 180. And he did it again. In the Earth is one of the few, because we're now at the point where we're like almost 2 fucking years in this pandemic. So we've already seen a few pandemic movies come out like that are themed around it and stuff. And I think his is the most effective, along with like Host, maybe. But Host wasn't my vibe, but In the Earth was definitely my vibe. I thought they handled not only filming during the pandemic, but the themes of the pandemic without it being overbearing and just about that. It had folk horror in it. It had weird mystery to it. It hit on so many keys. It was such a great drive-in feature to watch.
Also, it was very funny.
Yeah, the humor was just like very random and like felt like it was out of place, but like fit perfectly in it. Like the whole movie just felt like a hodgepodge of like every movie that Ben Wheatley has done. It's like it was almost like his greatest hits, like running in circles a bit, but like doing something like a new take with all of it. It was
And spoiler alert, it actually made my number 4.
Oh, spoils.
All right, let's move on to number 6. My number 6 is actually kind of a late entry as well, because at the time of this recording, it's not out yet, but by the time it posts, it will be. Nightmare Alley.
Ooh.
This is the new GDT movie. He produced Antlers. He actually directed this.
Yeah.
It's about basically a carnival, a guy who runs away, joins the carnival, becomes a mentalist, and then he decides he can use this mentalist shtick to con people. And there's way more to it than that. And there's way more layers and characters and bunches of crap. It's weird because it's pretty much it's a horror movie, but it's more of like a neo-noir and like a mystery. It's a crazy dark movie, and I loved it. It's my number 6. So
I'll be seeing it on Wednesday with Guillermo del Toro doing the Q&A.
Cool.
Yep, so I'm pretty excited about that.
That's definitely this year's Promising Young Woman for me, where I'm like, fuck, I feel like it would be in my top 10, but I can't fucking watch it until after we record. Bastards.
Jacob, what's your 6?
All right, and coming in at number 6, and another kind of crossover, Malignant.
Hey!
Yay! I mean, I had to.
It's my number 6 too. Hey!
Woohoo!
Hey!
Yeah.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're Malignant heads.
Malignant.
So Malignant and Werewolves Within have made, and Titan probably. Well, I don't know about Titan. I hope I'm not spoiling anything. Looks like we do have a lot of crossover on our lists.
Yeah.
Great minds think alike.
And with that, we'll go on to number 5, which I'm pretty sure there will be no crossover on this one. My number 5 is Lamb.
I didn't see it yet.
I did not see that one either.
Lamb is one that if this list was in writing, posted on iHorror, I would get nailed to the crossover because, and I'll even be the first to admit, it's not really a horror movie, but it's just this dark fable. And I don't even want to talk too much about it because the trailer spoils a huge reveal that is much more fun if you actually see it. So, but now Lamb is, it's just, it's one of those movies where you keep thinking, you're like, oh, is this really what this is? And that is really what it is as it's going on. But yeah, Lamb, my number 5. What's your 5, Jacob?
All right, and coming at number 5 for me is VHS 94.
Ooh.
Yeah, no, that, I feel like there weren't a whole lot of anthologies this year, and I'm a huge fan of horror anthologies and found footage, so, of course, big fan of VHS, and I was very happy that VHS was coming back. I saw this at Beyond Fest, and honestly, this is probably one of, if not the best entries in the franchise, because you just have such a wide mix of directors and stories and a whole heap of badass and crazy practical effects. And so the directors were some really good ones too. We had Simon Barrett, Timo Tianto, Jennifer Reeder, Chloe Okuno, Ryan Prowse, and Steven Kostansky from Psycho Gorman did a short bit in there.
He did the infomercial, right?
Yeah, I did the melon crusher infomercial.
That's a great one.
Yeah, with Connor Sweeney from Astron 6. But yeah, no, there was a lot of great stories in this one. You got Ratma, the news footage thing, the subject with the cyborg. Let's see. Particularly one of my favorites was the militia one. That one was a lot of fun, and
that was such a weird one too. Like that just went on for so long, and then all of a sudden, just everything went to shit.
That's why I liked it.
I know.
And Simon Barrett's entry, which got a lot of buzz, the Empty Wake. Like that one was pretty scary. But yeah, so it was just very solid anthology. Like every segment was pretty strong in their own right. So I thought it was a very solid movie and well deserving of being in the top 10.
And it's one of the rare anthology films where it has different directors, but they seem to have like a common, like they felt together, because sometimes when you get different, I think Heather Wixon brought it up when we were talking with her, that when you have different directors doing anthology stuff, sometimes it doesn't have like a same feel going into the next one. But then again, not every anthology film can be Creepshow, but this one felt more connected.
Cool. Korea, what's your number 5?
My number 5 was Candyman. Yeah, we already talked about it a bit, but I absolutely loved it. I loved that it was a continuation but more importantly, it addressed a lot of the because I love the original Candyman, but there are some things that they didn't do quite well in handling race inequality and history in America, which is understandable because it's a film made by white British folk. So I thought this one kind of didn't fix the sins, but it did address the sins of the previous one while also paying homage and continuing the story very effectively and well. And it had some like really genuinely good scare moments. And I just love the idea of twisting around and playing with just the idea of mythology and where it comes from and folklore and whatnot. So yeah, Candyman was phenomenal.
Wasn't it Bernard Rose who made Candyman into a black former slave? I thought in the original story, he was like a pasty British guy. Yeah. In the original Clive Barker story. And then Bernard Rose is the one who was like, all, hear me out, Clive.
Yeah. Which is great. Just making that big leap, in difference in story is a big feat. But, there's a few shortcomings. It's very of its time, in dealing with stuff like that. But, I think they use that in this new one. And especially with the idea of mythology, because it always didn't sit well. Like, why would Candyman be attacking people in, the low income projects, like that seems like a weird place for him to be stalking. And so like they kind of work with that and make it ring a bit more true.
It's sort of like we talked about with Ghostbusters Afterlife and The Force Awakens. It's kind of a rehash of the original, but that's because that's what the mythology is. And the Helen story even became part of the mythology.
Became a stronger part of it too. Like people forgot about Candyman and focused more on Helen, which I love, because if you watch the sequels to Candyman, there's almost no mention of Helen at all.
Yeah. So number 4, my number 4, Korea's already mentioned, is The Night House.
Yeah.
I loved this movie. And you nailed it when you said it had What Lies Beneath vibes. And I love What Lies Beneath. If I had known you had not watched that until this year, I would have made you watch it years ago. What Lies Beneath is an amazing movie.
Buddy, we said this on the first episode. All those years ago.
It is. It's terrific. So yeah, The Night House, we already talked about, so you don't need to go on into it too much. But yeah, that's my number 4. Jacob, what's yours?
My number 4, as I mentioned before, is also In the Earth, which I thought was a great folk horror. Like John said, greatest hits for Ben Whatley, but also probably one of my favorite movies of his now. And also, I have to say, adding to what he said, just seeing it at the drive-in, I feel like enhanced the experience because it's a folk horror naturalist movie. And I saw it under a full moon, and it just felt like very weird and magical, I guess. It was definitely a horror movie, especially for earlier this year when we were still pretty deep into the pandemic.
There definitely was something special about seeing it at the drive-in, because that was the only way you could see it, because theaters weren't open yet, and having your mask on your wrist, but I also do feel like it'll hold up and you'll still be able to watch it in the future without living in that very specific time,
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Korea, what's your 4?
Well, my number 4 might be controversial because technically not a movie, but fuck you, this is my podcast, is Mike Flanagan's Midnight Mass.
Ooh, we'll allow it.
That was one of the most effective and just beautifully done pieces of horror to come out this year. And I was not going to allow the fact that it was a miniseries and not a movie stand in the way of giving it proper recognition. But yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite things watching it. We spaced it out, so it like hit every note. It was like he was aiming for me by having 2 Neil Diamond songs in the first 5 minutes and then ending on a Carl Sagan, theological fucking existential, monologue, the TV show, But yeah, just brilliantly paced, brilliant acting. So much fun. Yeah, I'll probably be watching it again soon.
It's probably my favorite thing from Mike Flanagan.
Oh yeah,
I was just hooked in. I binged it. I knocked it out in like a weekend, and it hit like a ton of bricks.
And that's saying a lot, because when we talked with Heather Wixon a month or so ago, I was on the fence on if I wanted to consider it my favorite Mike Flanagan thing. But now that some time has passed, it's like, yeah, no. that is granted. Everything else he's done has been pretty fucking brilliant.
Oh yeah,
like this is like his magnum opus so far, and he's doing Poe next, so we'll see.
Yeah, that's saying that it's your favorite Flanagan is saying a lot, because look at the dude's resume. I mean, there hasn't been a dud on it, so that guy's he knows what he's doing.
Oh yeah.
On to number 3. My number 3 is Last Night in Soho.
Ooh.
Which I've been saying this about everything since number 6, I think. Actually, my whole list I love, but I love this movie. Just everything about it. The Anya Taylor-Joy and Thomasin McKenzie, both brilliant in it. The needle drops. No one drops a needle like Edgar Wright. I mean, any of his movies, whether it's Baby Driver or Shaun of the Dead, you know, that guy knows music. And Last Night in Soho is just more of that. It's just a spooky, creepy little, you know, I loved it, you know. And if you want to see male ghost penis, it's always that too.
Always. When do we not want to see ghost male penis?
It's redundant to say male penis, though, isn't it? I
mean, sometimes.
Well, either way, there's a lot of ghost dong in this movie.
There is a lot of ghost dong in Last Night in Soho.
It just barely missed out on my 10. I think it was like number 11 or 12. And it gets high praise for me. Just having any movie be named after a Dave D, Dozy, Beaky, Mick and Tish song is always worth it.
I just thought it was great because there's 2 moments, not one, but 2 songs in there where you're like, oh, that's a cover, because it's got the original of I Got My Mind Set on You. And you're like, oh, wait, George Harrison didn't write that? And it's got the original of Always Something There to Remind Me too. And you're like, wow, he's really making these 80s pop songs look bad by spilling the beans.
Right.
Jacob, what's your number 3?
And coming in at number 3, and kind of cheating on this because I think technically this was a festival release. I'm not really sure exactly on the full official release, although a lot of people have seen it by now because it was released on some virtual festivals. But anyway, my number 3 is Phil Tippett's Mad God. The movie, the stop motion, like media hybrid mix that he spent like 30 years on and off making. And this one really resonated with me because you were just watching somebody's existential, theological nightmare made into like stop motion and animation and live action mishmashed with all kinds of visceral gore and bodily fluids and horrifying entities. It's it's just such a hard to describe movie, but it's basically like this soldier is sent into the bowels of the underworld for some kind of vague mission, and just it's like Hieronymus Bosch meets like science fiction fantasy. There's all these monsters and just flesh and disgusting, and yeah, it was so mind-blowing to see it Beyond Fest. And funny story, I actually got some of Phil Tippett's opening notes, which he kind of threw into the audience, and it just said all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy over and over again, and he signed it. Yeah, no, it's just, and he talked about it, he had a nervous breakdown. He had a few nervous breakdowns in the process of making the movie, and it shows. It's just pure. You're just in the mind of this artist, and it just will melt your face off.
I tried so fucking hard to find a way to watch that movie in the last month, and I could not. Like it was only playing at like international film festivals overseas over the last few weeks. Like I'm really upset I missed that out earlier this year, but I'm hoping it gets a home release sometime soon. Maybe
next year, and who knows? Maybe it'll be on the virtual circuit again, which is like I think it was Sundance and a couple other places, but either way.
Korea, what about you? What's your 3?
Oh yeah. Number 3. My number 3 is Titan. Again, absolutely beautiful film. All the uncomfortableness, it was just like so warranted, and so it's an experience, and it's nice to have a film that challenges you as a viewer, one that like really puts you into the moment and challenges your endurance a bit. And when it's done well, like it's effective as fuck. So yeah, I can't praise that movie enough.
Challenges your endurance. That's a great way to put it.
Funny enough, connecting back, I actually watched Titan just before I saw Mad God, so that was my double feature that day.
Oh, buddy, are you okay?
I was not okay that night.
All right, on to number 2. My number 2 is another one that would get me flamed on the internet if this was in print, because it's not horror, but it is.
But remember, fuck you, it's our podcast.
It's it's our podcast. The Green Knight is my number 2.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just an absolutely beautiful movie. It's debatably horror, but the most effective segment has a ghost. So fuck you, it's horror. Did I do that right, Korea?
Yeah, fuck you. It's our podcast.
It's just beautifully acted. The score is beautiful. I'm saying beautiful a lot, but that's the only way to describe a movie like The Green Knight. It's just flawless filmmaking. And I know, but it's my number 2. So what's my number 1? Anyway, anybody who's been paying attention knows my number 1 is. But anyway, The Green Knight. Loved it.
Green Knight is definitely one of my top 10 of the year. I just, for myself, could not include it on my horror list. And you know what? That's okay. Sometimes it's good to be a bit subjective, but it was just so beautiful to see like an actual like epic poem be translated well, especially if you read a lot of those older epic poem. Like it felt like watching some, like, I really want him to do Epic of Gilgamesh now, because I feel like that's a fucking hard one to not try to fit into like that Skywalker, bullshit fucking narrative style. But Green Knight, I like, everyone's always complaining like, oh, he just kind of wandered into places, and it's like, yeah, that's the whole point of the story, is that he kind of sucks and he just kind of wanders into shit.
I mean, right from the beginning, he's not a quote real knight.
No,
he takes up the Green Knight's challenge almost to make himself look cool in front of the king and all the other knights. But he's a glorified squire who becomes legendary for a year and then has to pay the piper.
Yeah. It's very someone, was egotistical and bit off more they could chew, and then had, like you said, had to pay the price. Plus there's a fox, which is really cool. So,
and it talks.
A talking fox. Yeah. And it didn't terrify me like Antichrist with their fucking fox.
Yeah, it had a lot of monsters and weirdness and ghostliness to it. So yeah, I didn't say it counts as horror.
And it counts as a Christmas movie.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
That's true. But, man is the real monster, because Barry Keoghan was the probably the scariest character in it, that freaking butthead. I've never wanted to punch a character in the face more than Barry Keoghan in The Green Knight. Actually, that's not true. I have, but he did make me want to punch him in that. But he redeemed himself with Eternals, though. I like Barry Keoghan. I like him.
For me, that's just Jimmy Fallon. just in general.
All right, Jacob, what's your number 2?
And coming in at number 2, Edgar Wright's Last Night in Soho.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah, no, I mean, I had to. Again, it's one of those horror movies that really resonated with me, and I just thought it was really cool. And, again, what you were saying earlier about the soundtrack and the needle drops, like I loved it so much. I've got the vinyl of both the soundtrack and the score, and I also got that 7-inch vinyl with Anna Taylor-Joy doing Downtown and Upbeat and Downbeat. And yeah, it's such an interesting mix of kind of like, it has a very British ghost story style to it, and while also being heavily influenced by Italian horror and giallo. Like that's the other thing too. Like, it was another great screen for me because I saw it at a Beyond Fest event with Edgar Wright and some of the casting crew, and it's one of those things where it was just such a great screening. I didn't see it again in theaters, which I kind of regret, although I ended up watching it again with my family over Thanksgiving, and which is another thing too. It's very layered, like a lot of Edgar Wright's movies. There's a lot of stuff you missed the first time that you see it again. It's like, oh, how could I miss that foreshadowing? So yeah, no, it's just, I thought it was an incredible supernatural movie and incredible soundtrack.
Yeah. I have the score and the soundtrack on pre-order for Mondo right now too.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's worth it. He really knows how to get a soundtrack and a score together.
Do you have those Fear Street that triple Fear Street package from Waxworks on pre-order?
I do not know. I do have the Sparks Brothers soundtrack though, because that's my number one overall film of the year was Sparks Brothers.
I'm waiting on the Fear Street triple because it's three records and each one comes with like a Fear Street artwork cover for that movie. Anyway, we're getting off on a tangent, but I was just wondering. You said that you had Last Night in Soho pre-order. I wonder if you had Fear Street too. Korea, what's your number two?
Number two. First of all, I'm fucking shocked this one hasn't popped up on any of yours list, and we're about to announce our number one. So I'm a little worried about you guys, but Censor. Censor was absolute like that was a. I'm glad I waited until my Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray came in because holy shit, that disc is stacked. They have an hour-and-a-half long documentary about video nasties that was produced by Blue Underground on it. But anyways, the film itself is just it is so well done. It's haunting. It's fun, and like the third act just goes like you're just watching. I love stories where you're uncertain about the mental stability of a character that you're watching, and just watching it kind of go down. And just very visually beautiful. There's some like really great moments. There's one moment where a character dies from impaling, and like the reaction that the person has who's never killed someone before just felt so genuine. It was kind of hard to watch them kind of crack in the moment. There's just like so many great little bits in it that work really well. And then it doesn't forget that it's to have fun at times. Like when they show the fake movies in it, they're always over the top, always very bloody and whatnot. But yeah, and in the history, it's also just great watching something that repeats the words "fuck Margaret Thatcher," like that. It's a very punk rock attitude with that, and so I appreciate the shit out of it.
Okay, before we get to our number ones, and actually, I'm going to challenge the listeners to try to guess each of our number ones. I think I know Jacob's. I'm not sure about Korea's. And anybody who's been listening to us probably knows what mine is. But let's go through some honorable mentions of ones that did not make the cut. Yeah. And I'll go first. Yeah. My first honorable mention that just got bumped off my top 10 by Nightmare Alley when I saw it is that movie about the beach that makes people grow old, and then they get old on the beach and they have to get off the beach or they grow old. I don't remember what the name of it is though. No, old was my number 10 until about a week ago. Also Candyman, which is on both of your lists. That was another great one. Censor is another one that just barely didn't make the cut. And also Superhost. Superhost. You know, that Shudder one, that one was another one that was. And also I didn't realize this actually came out this year because it was so long ago. Psycho Goreman. Was January. Yeah. And so that kind of surprised me that it came out there. And also, while I was looking up stuff to see if I missed it in 2021, I saw that there's a new Bad Ben movie this year. Do you guys watch the Bad Ben movies?
No.
They're not good, but they are all made. I think there's 9 of them now because one just came out this year. And they're all made by the same dude, and he does everything. And I think they're all on Prime. But anyway, I need to catch up because I think I've only seen the first 6, so I might have 3 to go. But anyway, those are my honorable mentions. What about you guys, Jacob?
Well, there was a lot of movies I wish I could have included on the list that you guys had listed. For example, the Fear Street trilogy. I kind of wish I had cheated like John did to include that.
Not cheating.
Quote unquote cheating,
bending the rules because it's your podcast. Fuck you, right?
My podcast. Fuck you.
Let's see what else. Also the Night House. That might have been. I think that was just an instance of me getting confused because it was listed as a 2020 movie, but I really enjoyed that one. And the new Slumber Party Massacre movie was really good. I really dug that on TV. I thought it was a great continuation of the Slumber Party Massacre franchise. And of course, the big one, Psycho Goreman, which I was boxed into because I had actually put that as my number one last year. Again, because, just releasing was very weird. And I'd seen that at Beyond Fest at the drive-in last year. So if I could, it would definitely be on my top 10 this year. And it is an incredible movie and I still love it. And That's a thing. This was actually a pretty good year for horror. Like there were just so many good horror movies that came out this year. Also Titan. I really enjoyed that one. But yeah, that's the thing. There's just a lot of great horror movies this year. I wish I could put them all on the list.
It's like choosing your favorite child. Korea, what are your honorable mentions?
Oh man, so many honorable mentions. Thinking of ones that you guys haven't said yet. First and foremost, Wrong Turn, 2021. That was a very pleasant surprise because I've only ever seen the first of the original, and I really didn't like it. It definitely wasn't my vibe. But the new one, I had so much fun with it. I was very caught off guard on how much I liked it. And of course, we had the cinematographer on, which was a lot of fun too. But that's no sway in it. I genuinely had a lot of fun with the new Wrong Turn movie.
It was a genuine reboot. It wasn't mutant cannibals. It was something else.
It was plot spoiler.
It was done in a very effective and fun way, and the log sequence was was just a total what the fuck moment. It was all around really solid. It's something I wasn't expecting from a reboot. And again, this is not because we've had Nick Junkersfeld on. I just genuinely had a good time with that movie. Tales of the Uncanny, the Severin documentary that's all about anthology films. First of all, that's a gorgeous Blu-ray set if you got the limited edition with the bonus anthologies on it. But also, it was one of the best put together documentaries of the year that was about movies. I still haven't seen the full core one, so don't yell at me yet. My box hasn't come in yet. But I thought that one was really well done. It was another pandemic made movie. I think it was supposed to be a special feature. And then they were like, well, fuck, we have all these people. Let's keep reaching out to more and make a whole thing about it. And it was phenomenal. Definitely ran up adding to cart the whole time going, oh yeah, I haven't seen this movie. Oh yeah, I haven't seen this movie. One that Bo Burnham's Inside. I'm going to say that's a horror. That's a horror. That's very fringe, but like, that was, it was real world horror, just like
by the end, it's a horror movie. I mean, when you see the guy unravel,
and he shot it in the Nightmare on Elm Street house.
Yeah, that's true. But like, how much was that film needed when you see how many people's had the soundtrack, the songs on their Spotify top listens? Like, what a cathartic event for all of us to collectively go through again with that one. And then Silver Party Massacre again. It's another one that's just a lot of fun. That I
am so buying the Blu-ray when it comes out in a couple months.
Oh yeah, dude, that needs to be sitting on my shelf next to the other three.
Yeah, I got them all. I gotta catch them all.
Yeah. And then just shout out to Till Death with Megan Fox. I know that was one I brought up before. Is it top 10? No. Is it a hell of a fun time? Yeah. And she gave like a really solid performance in that. So, I think that's a solid recognition right there. Oh, and lastly, straight out of nowhere, Scooby Doo meets Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Yeah.
That got knocked out of my top 10. That was a very early draft pick for me. But
I didn't even think to include that.
I know, but it's so much fun. Like they handled the mythology and the animation and the humor of both shows very well. They did like a kind of greatest hits rogue gallery moment with Courage, which was excellent. Yeah, that one's a lot of fun. Highly recommend checking that one out too.
All right, cool. On to our number ones. And my number one is controversial because every time I tell someone it's my favorite movie of the year, they inevitably say, oh, but that was 2019. No, that was last year. But no, it was released in January of 2021. Saint Maud is my number one. And anybody who saw it in 2019 at, whatever film festival, yeah, good for you. But it was wide released January 2021, and it is my favorite movie of the year.
Seconded.
Is it your number one as well?
It's my number one pick as well.
Oh, shit.
And I saw it in 2020, but I knew it wasn't getting a wide release till 2021. So I even said it last year. Bar's been set very high, and they came very close. So many projects.
When I saw it in January, I said, is it too early to declare this my favorite movie of the year? Because I am. And sure enough, nothing dethroned it. It's just an amazing movie. I mean, I literally waited. My A24 rep, when it was finally going to get released and I emailed getting a link, I joked with her and I said, hey, I feel like I've been waiting a year to see this. And she says, you have. And I'm like, you're right. I have. So, so yeah, but it was definitely worth the wait. Saint Maud, if you haven't seen it, what are you doing with yourself? Go see Saint Maud. All right. So no drama with Korea because he agrees with me on this. So yeah. Jacob, what is your number one? And I think I know it.
Oh, I think you do. Coming in at number one is... Pausing for dramatic effect.
Oh, so dramatic.
Prano Bailey Bond's Censor.
I was going to say, fuck Margaret Thatcher. Is that your hint?
Fuck Margaret Thatcher.
Yeah, that's what I thought it would be. And you've been declaring that for like half the year too. So.
Oh yeah. No, I was lucky. I got to see it first at the Sundance Virtual Festival, and it just blew me away. Just because I thought it was such a brilliant mix of social commentary and also a genuine homage to '80s and video nasties horror. And I didn't. I don't really have any connection to England, but it is interesting kind of get that perspective on the culture at the time because, it's just so insane to think about that back then you could actually go to prison for selling one of these movies and just how staunchly strict the British censor board was, and just kind of offsetting that with like the Troubles and all these other social unrests in England at the time. And it's just so connected to today too, like the tagline says it all. It's like, you can't edit reality. Yeah. And it's all about this one woman who's obsessed with editing and censorship and just how kind of her outlook affects her life, and just this whole arc with her and her disappeared sister and her obsession. And yeah, it's like John was saying, it's just a great mix of genuine horror with psychological horror and comedy. It just hits all the right buttons for me. And like I said, it's just in terms of socially relevant horror movies, it may be one of the most in our post-reality, like internet culture today.
And I really dug how in the movie, because the protagonist is someone who works for the censor board, classifying films as video nasties, is that she wasn't coming from like a self-righteousness, like, oh, this isn't right. It's her trying to get it right, because she fully believes that these films can provoke violence, even though it hasn't been proved yet. So she's just trying to nail it right, because in her mind, the consequences is life or death for other people. And so in the movie, when a murder happens and they get blamed for it, she takes it. She fucking cracks. She just fucking, because it was one that she reviewed. And she's like, how did I miss it? I did everything I was supposed to. I was, and I love seeing that obsessive. I love seeing that other side of it, because especially from like my perspective, I'm 30. So I definitely missed the video nasties era. I'm also American. So like, I didn't have to deal with any of that Margaret Thatcher bullshit. But
also, just an aside, like when I did see Censor theatrically, Margaret Thatcher did get booed by the audience. I saw it at the Alamo. Go figure.
For a second, I thought you were going to say, yeah, when I saw it in theaters, Margaret Thatcher was there and gave a Q&A afterwards.
God. Ghost of Margaret Thatcher.
That would have been great. I would have thrown a tomato at her. I don't know where I would have gotten that tomato, but I would have thrown it. But yeah, I really dug all that. But again, that was a hard one for me, because those Titan, Censor, and Saint Maud, like I was with James saying, like I even called it last year. I was like, I saw this film this year, but I'm going to use it for next year, and it's going to be like the golden standard for 2021. And it was close. Like I was editing and moving those three around for a fucking week before I finally went, all right, no, we're done. We're not touching anymore. We're dedicated. And I would have been pissed if one of you guys also hadn't had Censor on it. I got real worried at number 2. I was like, I know where James is going, but Jacob, I feel like he has to say Censor for number 1.
I pretty much, once we got into the top 5 and Jacob had, I was like, no, he's got to have Censor. Yeah. So,
yeah. And again, I think with all the time and releasing stuff, I think I just got kind of mixed up on Saint Maud, because I did also see that at the drive-in. That's the other thing too. I can't remember when I saw it, but I did see it at the drive-in, and it was an amazing movie. It's I think I was confused on release dates and stuff.
Listen, there's a pandemic going on, but we're working, and then we're also not in a pandemic, but there is one going on, but we're also working, and it's been a very confusing year, but there's been some really great movies that have come out. There's been a lot that I know I haven't seen. There's a lot that have been hard to be able to see. Some that have been super easy. There's a lot of hidden gems out there that I can't wait to be yelled at for missing and then discover later, you know? So I think I have more lenience on myself, especially this year, for not having seen as many as possible, you know?
Yep. Well, these are our top 10. So let us know if you agree with us, if you disagree with us, if you think I'm an idiot for putting Lamb and the Green Knight on mine, let us have it. And this is our season finale, and we're going to take a few weeks. So if you don't see an episode from us in a couple of weeks, don't panic or don't, get too comfortable. I don't know, depending. We got a 1-star rating, so that person's going to be like, "Oh, yes, they gave it up."
1 out of like 12. By the way, passionate listeners, don't forget to review us on your various podcasts, wherever you're listening
and review.
to. Rate and review. It is
please review, because I don't mind getting this 1-star rating. What bothers me is he didn't review. So it's like, what are we doing wrong? If you think we suck, tell us why you think we suck, and maybe we can improve.
And it was before our Ghostbusters episode. So like if they want to come at us, be like, "Oh, you defended Ghostbusters 2016. I'd be like, "Cool, fuck you too. It's my podcast." But yeah, definitely review. And hey, if you hate us and you're still listening, great. Keep listening. Keep listening to us and review us. Like, it's all cool. We just it's very important for we're very small budget, very, it's just the 4 of us here every week. So if you can help us out by rating and reviewing on any and all of your favorite platforms, that will help us get more notice, get more listeners. And mostly, I mean, we get no money out of this, so it would just be more motivating for us.
Yeah.
To do more.
And it'd make us feel good. Don't you want to make us feel good and positive?
Yeah. Good and positive. But also, I really want your hate reactions to our list. Please tell me how much of an asshole I am for not including your favorite film of the year.
You can find us to give us those hate reactions on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, at iHorror.com. You can find us anywhere. So yeah, track us down. Let us know that we're idiots for thinking Saint Maud is the 2021 movie, and yeah, all that stuff. Like I said, we're going to take a couple weeks, but we will be back in the new year. I'm going to say, see you next year.
But like, that's truthful. I mean, this is pretty early December. This is going to come out mid-December. So yeah, we'll see you sometime next year.
2022, baby.
Yeah.
We've always say that we're like launching into 2021, launch into next year. I'm cautiously tiptoeing into 2022.
Yeah. We learned our lesson from 2020 and 2021. I'm
opening the door slowly and peeking around the corner.
No one is saying 2022 is going to be my year. Like, no one has said that. And if you do, I admire your optimism, but yeah, I think I kind of said that last year, and 2021 turned out to be just as rough, if not rougher, than 2020. So
yeah, and I don't think we're out of the woods, because there's there's a lot. There's a lot we could discuss, but I kind of think that this is just our new reality, unfortunately.
Yeah, just surviving. Now that's making it our year. Surviving every year.
So yeah, be safe, be nice to each other. Do what you can to see us all and see you all next year.
Be excellent to each other always.
Exactly. Yes. And, have happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, joyous Kwanzaa, Happy Boxing Day, whatever you celebrate it hard and celebrate it safely. And we will see you in the new year. So for me, James J. Edwards.
I'm Jacob Davison.
I'm Jonathan Correa.
Keep your eye on horror.